skies are clear for it too. It's a perfect night, not too cold either. Skies are mostly clear. There's a few clouds in the northern half of the state, but that's about it. You can see some of those clouds that were moving through in this time lapse out of the VLA earlier today. And tonight, those have kind of drifted into northern New Mexico, but we're still seeing mostly clear skies across the state. Made it up to 71 this afternoon here in Albuquerque. That's right where our high temperature should be for this time of year. Stayed in the 60s, though, in Santa Fe, Las Vegas, and Taos. 71 up in Farmington. We're in the 70s up in Raton. 80s across most of southern New Mexico. Silver City, Alamogordo stayed in the 70s, and Ruidoso up there in the Sacramento Mountains stayed in the 60s this afternoon. Now tonight, temperatures are back into the 50s there, along with Santa Fe and Farmington. Taos down into the 40s already. We're also in the 40s in Las Vegas, but then Raton is still hanging under the 60s at this hour, as we're also sitting at 61 degrees here in Albuquerque and 60s into southern and southwestern New Mexico. Skies, like I said, mostly clear. You could still make out that cloud cover here, though, on satellite that stretches from east of the Sangre de Cristo Mountains to even out over the San Juan Basin north of Gallup. As we head into the overnight, some of those clouds are still going to be sticking around, but most of us are going to be looking at clear skies. And these are mostly high cirrus clouds, too, so they're pretty thin. Tomorrow afternoon, we get some moisture to make its way into the eastern half of the state. This will set up a dry line. That's kind of a sharp barrier between more humid air off to the east, drier air off to the west, and that's where we'll see a couple of these isolated showers and thunderstorms develop, especially down into parts of far southeastern and eastern New Mexico. The location of these could trend a little bit farther north up towards parts of Roosevelt and Curry County, but for the most part, I think the best chance for rain tomorrow is going to be down into Eddy and Lee County, as those will move out of here by tomorrow late evening and into the early overnight hours. Now, areas in yellow and dark green in eastern New Mexico, a couple of those storms could even turn strong to severe in this area. Again, that's out near the Texas state line. Hail, lightning, some gusty winds, the biggest threats with any of those thunderstorms, but most of New Mexico is going to stay dry if we even get those storms to form on this side of the New Mexico and Texas state line. Temperatures tomorrow all across New Mexico warmer as well. Highs are going to be back above average across the entire state, and that's going to be the trend for the rest of this week. Rain chances aren't overly impressive, but we're going to continue to look at that dry line setup across eastern parts of the state all week long. So it'll just bring in an isolated to spotty rain and thunderstorm chance. We're maybe talking a handful of thunderstorms at most out across that part of the state. Could also see a couple spotty showers up in the northern mountains, but Saturday we get some better moisture here in New Mexico, and that could help to bring in some more rain and thunderstorms in the eastern half of the state Saturday afternoon. Unfortunately, it's looking dry for us here in Albuquerque. We've only seen 48/100ths of an inch of rain so far this year, putting us at over an inch below average. 13th driest start to the year on record for us here in Albuquerque, and that's to date through today. April so far, the wettest month of the year, and that was all thanks to that storm system on Saturday that brought us over 0.3 of an inch of precipitation. Still going to put us below average for the month of April, though, but check out January, February, March. Only a few hundredths of an inch of precip. We really got to wait until July until that average rainfall really kicks up, and that's because of, you guessed it, the monsoon. Can't come soon enough. Temperatures are going to climb up into the 70s starting Wednesday up in Durango. We're going to begin a stretch of highs in the mid 70s all the way through this weekend in Farmington. Pretty quiet weather this week for many of us, with highs in the mid 80s across southwestern New Mexico. It's eastern parts of the state, though, that could see an isolated rain and thunderstorm all the way into this weekend. And then the winds will pick up on Sunday. That'll bring in some warmer temperatures, but also some drier air, and push what little moisture we'll get into the state out of here, bring in some drier conditions all across New Mexico. Isolated shower can't be ruled out this week into the northern mountains, but like I said, most areas will stay dry as we begin a stretch of 70-degree high temperatures up around Santa Fe, Taos, into Espanola and Los Alamos even by Wednesday. Highs will be in the mid 70s starting tomorrow out in the East Mountains and Edgewood. And here in the metro, we're going to start making it up to around 80 degrees tomorrow afternoon, and that's where our high temperatures are going to sit for the rest of this week. That's 10 degrees above average for this time of year, by the way, up into the 80s this weekend. It does get a little bit windy on Sunday, so expecting that fire danger to return on Sunday afternoon.
Wow, much warmer.
Yeah.
All right, thank you, Grant.